Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on our third episode of the Firebase Study Jam series in Nairobi. We've had a couple of events before where we started with introduction to Firebase on the first day. On the second day, we built a web app using Firebase, and now we are on the third day. Yeah. And today we'll get started with Firebase for Android, that is email and password authentication with our instructor, Pius, from GDG Makurdi. So basically what we will learn today is how to build a mobile app with features that enable users to log in using email and password by Firebase authentication service. So I really hope that you are excited to learn today. Yeah. Thank you for joining in. I hope you are staying safe. You are washing your hands. You're staying at home. Yeah, so a little bit of information about our speaker, the person who's going to facilitate the event today. His name is Pius. He's a mobile developer with over 4 years experience building for the Android platform. He's from Nigeria and the organizer for GDG Makurdi. When he's not coding, he spends time watching football, that is soccer, or watching some TV series. Yeah, I hope you'll get to learn by the end of this session. And if you have any questions that you will want to ask our facilitator, we are going to share the Slido app link where you get to post your questions there. And if you find a question that is there and is similar to your question, what you can do is maybe just try and upvote it so that it can get recognized easily. So yeah, I hope we will continue. We'll keep this conversation going on. Let the world know what we are doing, that we are live, we are on this virtual study jam. So you can Hello, Pius.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello. Welcome to the session.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. So I was offline for a while. I was listening to your intro, then my internet went down, so I was off for a while. So I don't know. So can I start, or where are we?
Yeah, we're just waiting for you to just start. Yeah, so.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, great. So give me a moment. Let me see if everything is okay with my internet. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share my screen. All right, so all right, so I think you can see my screen. I can't hear you. That's weird.
Oh yeah, I can see your screen.
Yes, you can see your screen.
All right, that's great. So just like the hosts introduced, my name is Pius and I'm the organizer of GDG Makurdi. That's a town in Nigeria. It's not quite a big town, so it's okay if you've never heard of Makurdi, probably here in Lagos. So today I'm going to be taking like a workshop. This is not a talk, so this is like a workshop. So I'm going to be showing you guys, so we're going to walk through how to build your first Android app that uses Firebase for email and password authentication. So the most popular kind of authentication you find on the internet, or the traditional authentication, that is users get into a website and they have to register. You'll be asked to put your email, put your password, and some other details. And after registration, when you come back, you'll be required to enter that email and the password to log in. So that's the most traditional authentication you see out there on web applications and mobile applications, things like Facebook, Gmail, and so on. So today we're going to be building an Android app that uses that feature. So what Firebase Auth is all about, Firebase Auth provides identity, like user identity as a service. This is, you just use the authentication without worrying about the back end code, without worrying about all the messy stuff that is going on at the back. You just plug in with your app and you get started. That's what identity as a service means. And it supports different kind of authentications for today. Like these are various kind of authentication. There's signing with Facebook, Google, Twitter, GitHub, and email password authentication, which is the one we're going to be looking at today. And for this workshop, we are going to be building a small app. The app won't do much. We're going to be building a small app. We're going to be building a small app, and our app is going to have a user registration screen. It's going to have a user login screen and a welcome page that we'll probably just use to display the user's name to confirm that we're logged in. So that's just all our app is going to have. And so let's get started. Before we move forward, you're going to be needing an Android Studio. It's on the event description, so you need to install Android Studio since you're about to build an Android app. So that's just the only thing you need before you start. So now to get started, the first step, we're going to be creating a Firebase project. So to create a Firebase project, you need to log into the Firebase console. So the Firebase console, it's a web platform where you manage your Firebase project. This is a screenshot taken from the Firebase console. And the link on the bottom here, this is the link to Firebase console. So I can just copy it. And that's the link. It's in the slide, console.firebase.google.com. All right, so we are in Firebase console. I'm going to have to switch from these accounts. Okay, so here we're in Firebase console. This page might be different for you if you've never created a Firebase project before. If you have, it's going to show some of your recent projects here. So the first thing we're going to do for this workshop, we need to create a new project. Like this step, we're creating a new project. So to create a new project, we need to click on this plus sign. So click on the plus sign here, and we're required to enter the name of our project. So let's just call our app GDG Nairobi. So that's going to be the name of our app. And we can click on continue. Over here, Firebase is going to ask you whether you want analytics. Since this is just a sample project for learning purpose, I'm going to turn that off, and I can click on create project. Then Firebase is provisioning our project. Sometimes it takes a while, so We'll wait for that to get ready. And at this point, while this is happening, you should probably be starting up your Android Studio. All right, so our project is ready. We can click on continue, and Firebase redirects us to our dashboard. So this is the dashboard. This is the dashboard, and let's go back to our slide. And now the next step is to create an Android Studio project. So we go back to Android Studio. We go back to Android Studio. We open our Android Studio, and so here we are in Android Studio, and if you can see my screen, and you click on a new project. You click on a new project, and that starts Android Studio's new project wizard. So this new project wizard is going to help you to create a new Android Studio project. So we're going to check empty activity, and we can click on next. The next screen is going to ask us to say the name of our, type the name of our app and some other configurations. So we're going to call our app GDG Nairobi. I'm going to call our app GDG Nairobi. We're going to leave other things just the way they are, and we can click on finish. After clicking on finish, you have to wait for Android Studio to finish setting up our project. This might take a while. Okay, so while that is going on, we can go back to our slide. So this is a screen where we entered our configuration for our app. Basically, the only thing we did here was to change the name of the project. Okay, so Android Studio is almost done creating our project. We can try to go to the next step. So the next step now, it's to connect our app to Firebase. So we have a Firebase project, we have an Android Studio project. So these are the unique entities on their own. So it's time to bring them together. That's where the whole thing starts from. So first thing we need to do, we need to still go back to our Firebase console. This is our Firebase console. It's already opened and it's already on our project. So that is and on the console, we need to click on the Android icon and follow the wizard to finish the whole setup. So this is the Android icon. So these icons represent the kind of app you want to connect to Firebase, to this project. So for this project, what we want to connect it to is an Android project. So we'll click on this Android icon and we come back to this page. So the page requires us to provide the package name of our application. So we're going to go back to Android Studio and get that. So here we are back in Android Studio. Usually the easiest place to find your package name is in this file, Android manifest.xml. So we're going to open the file, and inside our file, we can find, package name over here. So we can copy that. and go back to Chrome and paste the package name here. This is optional, and this other field here for debug signing SHA-1. So you need this for authentication and some other services. There is a way to get that. There's a way to get that. And this is the steps to get that. So on Android Studio, if you expand the Gradle pane and you navigate to App, Tags, Android, and Sign-in Key, you're going to get the key from there. So the key is going to be in the console at the bottom. Okay, so this is the Gradle pane I was speaking about. Because our project is still synchronizing, we can't really see that option right now, but we can move forward. We can move forward. I think for email and password authentication, we should be able to proceed without the SHA-1 key. So we can click on Register App. And now that takes us to the next step. We clicked on Register App and this is checked. And in the next step, so this describes what I was saying. This is the Gradle pane, and this is expanding your app, tags, Android, and signing. So we need to get, the next thing is we need to get a configuration file. So that's what this button here on the console does. So you're going to click on this, and the configuration file, it's going to be downloaded. So here's the file. And you can just open a file explorer, and I'm doing Command plus C to copy the file. So I now have the file. It's weird what Android Studio is doing here right now, but I just hope it's not going to give us trouble. So we've copied the file. We can come back to Android Studio. We're expected to paste that file under the app directory. So the instruction here, it's written here. Everything you need is also written here. The instructions are written here. So you're expected to paste it under the app folder or directory. So here we are, and I'm doing Command plus V to paste it. Okay, since Gradle is not done building, I still can do that. So at this point, we're definitely going to have a little bit of problem, but I think, okay, that's great. So I will wait. We can click on Next. While we wait, we can click on Next. And the next thing we're supposed to do is we're going to add the Firebase SDK to our project. So we're going to add the Firebase SDK to our project. And the screen here describes what we need to do in order to add the Firebase SDK to our project. We're going to be modifying two files. One is the project level build.gradle file, and the second one is the app level build.gradle file. So we're going to be modifying those files in the next step. And after that, we click on sync and we are done. So we're back here in Android Studio. Gradle is done building. So we're going to be pasting the file. I still have it on my clipboard, so I'm just going to do Control plus V, Command plus V So you can verify the directory here. So here it's obvious it's going to the app directory. Now you see this 13 here is because I've downloaded a similar file. You know how this works. So I just have to get rid of that 13 on the space. So the file name should be these exactly. So you can modify from here and click OK. Okay. So we've added our configuration file. So the next thing we're going to do is to add the SDK. So if you're using Android view, Android will have different views for showing your files for files of your project. So if you're using this Android view, you can find your Gradle files under here. So we're interested in this Gradle file and this one eventually. So for the first thing we're going to do, we need this file. So we're going to double click and open the file. You can go back to Chrome and copy the required code. So we're required to copy this code, and in case this isn't already on the file, you can add this too. So we're going to copy this line, just click on this icon, it's enough, and we'll go back to Android Studio. So this is the dependency section, and you can paste it here. You can paste it just below that line. So, and we already have this here, so we don't need to do anything special. I'll have that there too. So next thing we're going to be doing is to edit our app level build.gradle. So the line we're also going to be adding to that is this line here. So we're going to copy that in case this doesn't already exist, but I think it's already there. So we'll copy that. So this is our project level build.gradle. And the next one we need is the app level. So this is the file. So we can come here, create a new line by hitting enter, then paste that code. So with all that, we are ready to sync. So we can click on this sync now and wait for Gradle to finish building. So while that is going on, we can still go back to Chrome. Here we are back in Chrome. And if this builds without any problem, which it just did, if this builds without any problem, so we didn't get any warning, so yeah, we did it. So at this point, we can take a break and celebrate ourselves for we've been able to create an Android Studio project, create a Firebase project, and connect both together. So it's what a little bit of celebration, baby steps. So now, take a deep breath and move to the next step. So here we are in the next step. So next step now for the application we're building, we need to enable authentication. So to do that, we go back to Firebase console. So this is Firebase console. Since we're all done with this, can click on this and click on continue to console. So we're back here in the console. So here on the console, you see on the left, there's options of things like authentication, database, storage, hosting. So for this workshop, we're doing authentication. So we can come back here and click authentication. So it brings us to this page here. So this is the authentication page. This tab would have shown us a list of our users if our app had users already. And the second tab is what we're interested in, which is sign-in methods. So we're going to click on that. So this shows a whole list of the different sign-in providers that Firebase supports. We have email, recently Apple sign-in. So for this workshop, we just need this. So we need to enable it. You can click on this pencil icon and check enable. We'll just leave this option to the default value. Then we can click on save, and that is enabled. So we're done with that. We can move to the next step. And the next thing we need to do, which is what we've explained here, this is a step on the console. So we're done with that. So the next step is to add the Firebase authentication dependency to our app. So this is a link to the official documentation for Firebase Auth. We're going to click on it. So here we are in the official documentation, and over here on the documentation, you get all the steps you need to add Firebase. So before you begin, if you haven't already added Firebase to your project, so this is what we're interested in. This is the dependency. So we're going to copy this code out of here and we'll go back to Android Studio. We're still in our, because we're still in our app level build.gradle file, we can just locate the dependency section, which is here. So this is the dependency section. So we can just create a new line somewhere around here and paste it. It doesn't matter where. Just so here's our Firebase authentication dependency. So we can also click on sync to let Gradle download all the necessary files. So while that is going on, go back to Chrome, and the next step, we're ready to start coding our app. So our app is going to have a login activity and a registration activity. Right now, our app has just one activity, the main activity, which greets the users with hello world. So we're going to be creating two new activities. So we'll go back to Android Studio. And here we are back in Android Studio. And to create the activity, we need to expand Java, our package name. Then while on our package name, we can right click and on the options menu, we're going to select new, then go to activity. So on the activity, we're going to choose empty activity. I know there's login activity, it might tempt you, but let's choose empty activity to keep our codes where we want them. So the first activity we're going to be creating could be register or login. Let's just call it register. So you can click on finish. Add. So activity is created. So we need to repeat that step to create our login activity, new activity and empty activity. So this activity is going to be login activity, and we can also click finish and add. So now we won't be creating files for some time, so we can click here to get more screen real estate for our code. Okay, so we're going to be starting with our main activity. We can also close these files. We're going to be starting with our main activities. This is the main activity.java. It's the Java file for our main activity. And there's also main activity.xml, which has the layout for that main activity. So this is the layout. It just says hello world. We won't be making modifications to that part yet. So we'll go back to the Java file. Now we're going to add, we're going to create a field. We're going to create a field that's going to hold an instance. If you're familiar with Java, this is Java. We're going to create a field that holds an instance of our Firebase auth. So to do that, if we want the scope to be public, I'm going to use public. So we'll specify the type. The type is Firebase auth. You can call it m auth. And inside our on create method, we can initialize m auth. Inside our create method, we can initialize m auth. So we can say m auth is equal to Firebase auth.get instance. Now we're going to override another method. We're going to override the onStart method. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to find a way to redirect the user out of our app, out of our main activity if the user is not really logged in. So we're going to create we're going to override on start. So you can start typing on and autocomplete. You can select the appropriate one, what we're interested in is on start. So over here, you can have an if statement to check if the user is logged in. So for that, we can say if auth dot get current user is not equal to null. So if the user is not logged in, this method is going to return null. So the user is logged in, it's going to return an instance of the user. So this is a check to check whether the user is logged in. So if the user is logged in, we can do something. If in a case it returns null, so maybe we can have an else part. In the case it returns null, we can now move the user to the login screen. So I'm going to just say go to login. This is a method I've not created. So, but the way Android Studio works, I can just come here, put the cursor on that method and hit Alt Enter and select this first option, create method. So Android Studio has created that method for me. This is going to be a very basic method that just redirects the user to the login activity. So what we're going to put there is we're going to create an intent. We're going to create an intent. Also, Alt Enter to import. We're going to create an intent and initialize it. So the intent, the constructor of intent expects us to specify the context. So we're going to supply this as the context. It's going to also expect us to specify the destination. So here we want to take the user to login activity.class. So our intent is ready. And the next thing we need to do is to start the activity. So you can select this, start activity, and use supply intent. The intent we just created. So with this, if we start our app, if you try to run our app, the app is going to redirect the user to the login screen because at this point, the user is not logged in yet. So next thing we're going to do now, let's try to design our login screen. So here we're back in the login activity, the XML file for it. So this is where we do our user interface design. So this is the design panel for Android Studio. This is Android Studio 3.6. I think the latest stable release. So many things has changed in the past. There used to be text and code here, but those things are now somewhere up here. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to bring in, like if we go back to Chrome, so we've done this, and we've done this. So over back here in our login activity XML, we're going to be bringing in under text, we're going to be bringing in a text field that accepts email. So we just drag and drop it here. Also, we are going to bring in another text field that accepts email. Sorry, password. We have one for email already, so we need one that accepts password. So this is password. So we can also drag this and drop it in here. So we have those. This is constraint layout. You can read about it, but designing constraint layout can be fun. So it's just very easy for a drag and drop kind of thing. So I've created a constraint to the top by dragging this dot up. I've created a constraint at the top. I'm going to add a margin, something big. No, yeah, you can just keep that. Then I'm also going to add a constraint to the left, and so that's to the right and to the left. And this is the second field. I'm going to set this constraint to the left of this, right to the right of this. This is not a workshop on design. So, and top there. Sorry. Okay. So I'm going to add the margin to the top. Again, margin of 16 dp. Now the next thing is I want this text fields to fill the width of the screen. So with constraint layer, what you need to do is under the width properties, since we have constraint to the left and right, you can set it to 0 dp. You set the width to 0 dp so it fills the whole screen. We're going to repeat the same for this. I'll set the width to 0 dp. Just for some better look, we're going to add a margin of, let's say, 8. No, let's go with 16. We're going to add a margin of 16 dp to both left and right of our text fields. The last things we need to change here is we can set up hint. So hint, you can tell the user enter your email address. And here we can say enter password. And another thing we should have made notice of is to change the IDs to something meaningful. The IDs currently is edit text and this one is edit text too. So we're going to change to something meaningful. We should have done this before. So change this to email underscore edit text. Click yes. And this change to password underscore, sorry, edit text. Okay, so the last view we need is a button. We're going to need a button. So we can also drag that here and okay. So just to make it fill the whole screen again, 0 dp and set up some margin. Change the ID to login button, margin top, and we can also change the text property to login. So there we have it. We have our login screen designed. One last thing before we leave, since the app redirects to the login screen, it's important that we add a link to the registration screen. So I'm just going to use a text view just to save time. I'm just going to use a text view for that. So this text is going to have constraint here and here, and give it margin 16 top and left. And we can change the ID to register BTN bottom, even though it's a text view. And we can change the text to, let's say, or register. And just to make it look more like a button, we can change the text color. Can change the text color to the accent color. And also change the text style to bold. I don't know if that worked. But so this is the design for our login screen. And we can go back to register and do something very similar. Over here, we'll go back and still get those views. So for our registration screen, we're going to be needing email, password, and password. So this is a minimal something. If you're building a production ready app, you're going to get more data from your user. So for just the purpose of this workshop. And we can change the ID here. Email, edit text. And let's change this to okay, so we're done setting the IDs. Just as we did the last time, set our constraints. So we have our constraint. And start changing the width. Going to save time. I can select multiple. Okay, doesn't work. Okay. So I made a mistake here. I'm going to be correcting that. Setting the constraint to left and right. All right. So for this first view, okay. New. Password and repeat password. Okay, so the last thing we need to add here is a button. So we can change the ID. And we can also change the text. All right, so we're done with this boring process of design. And now we can start coding. So we're back in our register activity.java file. It's the Java file for that activity. So over here, we're going to be creating the code that registers our user. Now, just like we did in the previous part, we can create a field, just like we did in our main activity, we're going to create a field. for Firebase auth. There's going to be an instance of Firebase auth. Still call it auth. And over here, we can initialize it. So that's our instance of Firebase auth. Now, the next thing we're going to be doing, we're going to create a method that initializes our UI. So what this method does is it sets up all the views that we're going to need in our code here. So the method is here to be created, auth plus enter and create method. So the method is created, empty. Over here, we're going to create more fields. These fields are going to be for our button and edit text. So say edit text, and the first one, email, second one, password, and okay. Okay, so we have those fields, and the next one we need to create is for our button. The type is button, and you can just call it reg button. So now it's time to initialize those fields in our Initialize UI method. So we do that equal to find view by ID r.id. So we're going to specify the ID in our file. So this is the ID from our XML file. So repeat that for password. And for repeat password. Okay, so last one for our button. So the next thing we're going to do is to set up a click listener for our button. A code that's going to control the behavior of our button when it's clicked, our register button. So set on click listener, new on click listener, and we're going to call a method, and we're going to call the method register user like this. So alt enter, and the second option. So this is the method. So at this point, we're going to be going back to Chrome and back to our documentation for Firebase auth. So on the documentation, we've done this to initialize Firebase, and we're going to look for how to create a new user. So this session, this creates a new account. So this is a code to create a new account. We can just copy this code to save time. You can also type it manually. We can just copy this code and refactor it. So we have the code on our clipboard. So that code is going to go into this method. Code is going to go into this method. So here we are. Now we're going to change this email and password to the value for our email and password the user has entered. If you're building a production app, for the sake of time, I'm trying to keep this as short as possible. So for the sake of time, but if you're building a production ready app, you need to do some validation. I'm going to skip that. So I'm going to create a variable of type string email. I can also create another one for password. Then I can come down here and say email is equal to email edit text dot get text dot toString. So we'll also do that for our password. So if you're doing validation, you also need to check that the password in the first field and the confirmed password is the same. So you could just write some if statement down there, but sorry. Get text toString. So now we have our email and password. For clarity, I'm just going to leave a blank line here. So we need to import some of this red text. You see, doing Alt Enter is going to fix it. And like this, we need to import this class. So Alt Enter imports that. We import and there's some code we're going to be getting rid of, like this. This isn't really what we want to happen when our user is logged in, so we can delete this code. And over here, we can delete this. We can also delete this. We're going to leave toast. So now this condition over here is successful. This is what's going to happen when the user account is created successfully without any issue. And this else part is what's going to happen when the account, for some reason, the account is not created. So what we're going to do when the user account is created successfully, we're just going to redirect back to our main activity. So I'm just going to use a one line to do what we've done in the main activity. So the code is start activity, it's expecting an intent, so say new intent, and just say get application context, comma, then the destination. This time around, we're going to main activity dot class. So what this is going to do is going to redirect our user to main activity. Now the next thing we're going to do over here, we need to change this to our current activity, which is register. And we are going to show a toast message that says authentication fails if something went wrong. So that's what this code does. So with this code, we have all we need for our registration, a very minimum something. So we can now go back to login. Can go back to our login. So we're back in login. We're going to be doing something quite similar. So create a field for our Firebase auth. So let's create fields for our views. So here we're going to have two views. One is the email. So for that, the type is edit text and email edit text. And the second one is password. So we have our fields. And just like we did the last time, we're going to have to initialize our Firebase auth. So m auth is equal to Firebase auth.get instance And we're going to call our Initialize UI method. So we're going to create a new Initialize UI method for this class. So just like we've been doing, Alt plus Enter and create method. So the method is created. So we're going to initialize the values for our email, edit text equal to so one thing we skipped here, we need our button too. Alt Enter to import that. So we initialize our button too. There we have it. So we need to also set up a login click listener for the button. Let's set click listener new listener. So this is going to be, let's call the method log user in, probably call the method something like this, and still Alt Enter, create method for this class, and here's our method. So this, at this point, to have to go back to Chrome and still follow the documentation. So on the documentation, this is the documentation for signing a user in. We just looked at the one for creating a new user account. So this documentation for signing a user in. This is the code we are interested in. So just to save time again, we're just gonna have to copy this and come back to this. It's gonna be now in this method. So paste it. And we need to supply the email and the password, just like we did the last time. We're going to create a variable string, say email. Let me use another method to create this. So email dot get text dot to string to convert the value to string. Again, I'm creating another one for password. So here we have it, and the value is already in the method here. So we have to do some imports and refactoring. Alt Enter for import. And this is our refactoring. We are going to get rid of all this code here. We just want to redirect the user to main activity. So just like what we did the last time on register activity intent. So we're going to try to get application context, comma, we'll get, need to specify where we're going to. So where we're going is main activity or class. So that's that. I'm going to get rid of this log code and this. We leave the toast so we can show a message to the user when authentication fails. So we import toast and change this to our class. Our current class is login activity. So with that, we've been able to code our login activity, our registration activity, and we have the UI set up. So the next thing that we might just want to add to show that this is really working is we could go back to our main activity XML. Our main activity just has one text field that says hello world. So let's try to say welcome and the user's name. So we could add another text view here. And just to keep this basic, we just and this is what we're going to be displaying our username, so we can come down and change the ID to user text view. Now we can go back to our main activity, and right here we're okay, still in on start, this space here. So when the user is logged in, we should try to set that user text view to show the user's name. So we can create a variable here of type text view. So I can just leave it like that. Or to find view by ID r.id.user text view, and we can create a string and call it user name. So this is going to be equal to auth dot get current user dot, you can get display name. Then we can come down here and say user text dot set text equal to username. So with that, we've been able to build a Firebase app that has register, login, and when the user is logged in, it's going to display the user's name. So it's up to you to use. You can use this method dot get user. When you click on dot, you see a lot of options there. Besides get username, there's so many other methods there. Like you can get the email, get the phone number, get a provider ID, and so on. So you can use that when you're building an app, a production app, or trying to prototype your idea into an app. So with that, I've come to the end of the coding section. And thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pius, for taking us through that wonderful presentation, as well as the code lab. Yeah, let me check if we have any questions at the moment from the audience. Well, okay. So we currently don't have any questions for now. But if there are any questions, maybe we could probably, the audience could probably reach out to you, maybe through your Twitter handle, that is EA_Pius. I believe that is fine with you, Pius. I'm going to use Pius. Is Pius or, okay.
Pius.
Pius, okay. Okay, I think from our end, we'll call it Pius. Okay, anyway, sorry about that. Yes, is it okay if we, if people reach out to you via your Twitter handle, or maybe maybe what other way do you think we can reach out to you to, so we can ask you the questions, that is?
Yeah, sure. They can reach me via Twitter. I think that's the easiest way to reach me. My DMs are open, or you can just tweet anything and tag me. I can get to answer that. I think that's okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much for finding time to join us with the team from Kenya and taking us through the Firebase with Android. Yeah, looking forward to maybe having future events with you. And to our audience, thank you so much for having stayed with us till this far. I hope you have learned something new. Yeah, and as you've had, if you have any questions, you can as well direct them to us or direct them to Pius through his Twitter handle. We are coming to the end of the session, I believe. Yeah, having no other business. Yeah, so we will continue with our Firebase Study Jam series. Probably tomorrow we'll still be doing the same thing. So yeah, looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. For now, goodbye from us.
All right, bye-bye.